Hey Brother VC, it's Andy Cloudy Mulder, and it's time to take another dive back into the 80s and a look at all the releases I have from 1986 this time. What a year 86 was. I'm not going to argue whether 1986 was the best year for metal. It probably wasn't, but it was the year that I kind of became the first full year of being a full-on paid-up badge-wearing metalhead, and I've got a lot of love for a lot of albums that came out in '86, even though they may not be everyone's favourite. There were certainly ones that hit me between the eyes big time back then. So similar to what I did with 84, I'm going to switch camera angle. Again, this is not how I store my records. I've just done this for a flip through. I find it the most convenient way just to get through a lot of records. And there are a lot of records this time round. I've not counted, but there's 60 to 70 or so at the most to get through albums and EPs. I've not put any 12-inch singles or 7-inch singles in this batch, and of course at the end, please let me know your highlights from 1986. If you have anything that you feel is must-have that I'm missing, then feel free to leave a rather smug comment in the below, and tell me what it is you think I should add to my collection. And if you disagree with any of my opinions on some of these albums, and I know some of you will, then tell me that too in the comments. I don't mind at all, just my opinion. Anyway, thanks for watching. There's sort of 3 parts to this. Try to go through fairly quickly, but you know me, I like to ramble. Hope you enjoy the video, and let's chat in the comments. Bye for now. Aaron's Rod, Illusions Kill. I think this band's out of Hawaii, Honolulu. It's not very good at all. AC/DC, Who Made Who. I'm not a massive AC/DC fan, but I really like this album. Mostly compilation album for the film Maximum Overdrive. Except Russian Roulette. Agent Steel, Unstoppable Force. It's on Under One Flag. No, it's on Beautiful Nations. There you go. Baby Taku, Force Majeure. Now this is one that I bought just because it was on the Music Foundation's label. I don't remember too much about it. I'm going to have to give it another spin at some point. Bon Jovi, Slippery When Wet, one of my original collection from '86. Chariot, Burning Ambition, new wave of British heavy metal, albeit 1986, a bit late to the party, but there we go. Cinderella, Night Songs. This is really all I need from Cinderella, although I do have a Long Cold Winter as well. Dave T. Chastain's CHSS, CJSS, World Gone Mad. Showed that one recently in an update. I've got 2 copies, got a UK and a US pressing of that. This is the other one. This is a reissue, Metal Blade reissue, Seraphungal, One Foot in Hell. A classic album. Struggling to get into Seraphungal a bit. I thought it would be a lot easier than it is, so I've kind of held off buying anything else just yet. Crimson Glory debut album. I got this with VCLT from the Rock Scout. There we go. DC LaCroix. Great female fronted metal. This album's really good. Another one from my original 80s collection, and I did a video of all my 80s collection recently, which kind of inspired me to go through year by year, somewhat randomly. David Lee Roth, Eat 'Em and Smile, superb album. That's again all I need from David Lee Roth. Dio, Intermission. This was an EP, sort of mostly live tracks, that was put out at the time when I think Vivian Campbell had just left the band and Craig Goldie had joined. I love this picture. Look at it. It's a Claude Schnell. It looks like a waxwork Madame Tussauds. Very flattering photo. English Dogs, UK thrash band, formerly a punk band where legend began. Again, I can't remember that one too well. I'll have to give that one another spin. Europe, the final countdown. I don't get the love this album gets. I guess maybe it's nostalgia. Maybe it was just at the time when it came out. I did play it a lot when it came out, but like a lot of people, the final countdown finally got to me, and I just never play that one anymore. Don't see the appeal to it at all. The opposite end of the spectrum, Exuma, Possessed by Fire, quality, underrated German thrash metal. Still going strong today. A couple from the same band, so Fastway, Trick or Treat. And these actually look like they've got a little bit of ringwear on, but it's all on the covers. Trick or Treat, the movie soundtrack from Fastway. That movie's great. If you've not seen it, it is on YouTube. Very, very dated, but fun nonetheless. And their studio album from that year, Waiting for the Road. This one is excellent as well. Flotsam and Jetsam. 2 copies of this. Doomsday for the Deceiver. In fact, I've got 3 copies, including the reissue. Took me ages to find one, and then I ended up with 3 in a week. I've told that story before. Never buy records when you're drunk. Girls' School, Nightmare at Maple Cross. Pretty decent return to form for this for Girls' School. Not bad at all. Still plagued by some awful covers. Tiger Feet is on this one, and Leader of the Gang. This is a compilation of Race with the Devil of the bronze years. It's a raw power compilation, and they kind of one of these companies that bought up sort of back catalogue stuff. Hallows Eve, Death and Insanity. Good old-fashioned US metal. Are these thrashy? I can't remember. Need to spin this one again. It's been such a long time. My intro to Hallow Rocks. It's I think it's another raw power. Yeah, another raw power compilation with lots of mixture of probably B-sides, live tracks, and singles and what have you. But yeah, enjoyed that one. Somewhere in Time, classic Iron Maiden album from 1986. Of course, it's 1986. This is my original copy. I got the week when it came out, and although the artwork is fantastic, and I know this album like the back of my hand, it did disappoint me when it came out because it wasn't the raw heavy metal Maiden sound that I loved. Judas Priest Turbo. On the other hand, this is a much maligned album, and I absolutely love Turbo. It was really came out around the time I was just starting to get into metal. I had this on tape with it might have been Priest Live on the other side, although Priest Live's a double album, so I don't know whether it would have all fit on a single tape. So my memory is probably failing me there, but I do love Turbo. Got the Turbo 30 as well. This I think is a bootleg, so this isn't it's not trying to be an original King Diamond Fatal Portrait, but I think it's a bootleg of a recent reissue on Roadrunner. It's alright though, I'm not a massive King Diamond fan, but good to have something in the collection. This showed up recently in my Terrible Albums video. Opinion hasn't changed at all. This would have shown up in my Terrible Albums video, but I'd already had Crocus the Blitz. Change of Address is the second worst Crocus album in my collection. A couple of Lizzie Borden next. This is a fantastic live album. The Murderous Metal Roadshow. If you've not heard this one, whether you're into Lizzie Borden or not, absolutely fantastic live album. And last one from this batch is Menace to Society, also from Lizzie Borden, the recent Metal Blade Originals reissue. Loudness, Lightning Strikes, Japanese metal band that made the transition to the West pretty well. I think I've got 2 copies here. A copy on Banzai from Greg the Egg of ECLT, a UK pressing. Magnum Vigilante. I think very much their turbo album, really. But 1986 was the year I was really getting into metal, really hard, and even though it's not metal, I was lapping up everything. So I've got a lot of good memories from '86 for albums that aren't necessarily that popular, but have stuck with me over time. Magnum Anthology, double album. It's another Raw Power. Yeah, so it's a bit of a lot of early stuff, real mixed match of not necessarily the best stuff, but good nonetheless. Megadeth, Peace Sells, Who's Buying. Everybody knows that one. One of my original collection. The only thing from Metal Church I had in the 80s, and I thought that was enough. I like the dark, but it never blew me away. I like it a lot more now than I did back then, with David Wayne on vocals. One of my favourite albums of all time, maybe a bit cliche, but certainly my favourite Metallica album. Again, all down to when it came out and where I was as a kid. Music Foundations, number 60. One of the prized possessions in my collection, that one. Motorhead, Orgasmatron. Perhaps not the best Motorhead album, but still, it's Motorhead. Nuclear Assault, Game Over. My introduction to Nuclear Assault, I have it, but I'm not showing it here because it's a 12-inch single, was Brain Death. And I had to get this album just based on that single alone. Killer thrash. Omen, The Curse, I guess you call them US power metal. Why not? Great heavy metal album. Onslaught, The Force. This is one with Psykela on vocals. Not as raw as their very first album, but still full on fantastic UK thrash. I don't go much for Ozzy Osbourne, but I don't mind The Ultimate Sin at all. There we go. I've got a couple of copies of this. I think I've got a VCLT from Greg the Egg one time, so I've got a Canadian copy, sorry, Fighting Back, Paul Di'Anno's Battle Zone, and a UK copy. I think the interesting thing on this is all tracks are composed by John Hurley, who was the lead guitarist. So Paul Di'Anno doesn't actually write any of the songs, but they've obviously used his name to sell the wax. Yeah, not a good album. Again, another one I bought for because it was on Music for Nations. Never did get these guys, still don't get these guys, although I know a lot of you do. This one featured in my Terrible Albums video as well. It has some fantastic songs. I love the cover of it. Lots of one of those covers, every time you look at it, you see something new. But it was spoiled by the keyboards that were put on. I saw them live a couple of years ago now, and those songs without keyboards sounded absolutely superb. So we've got Queensryche, Rage for Order. This one again, another. There's a few from '86 that seem to appear in my Terrible Albums video, and this one fully deserves to be there. Awful. Rat, Dancing Undercover, love 'em or hate 'em. I quite like this one. Don't mind Rat at all, I have to admit. Now, this is a terrible one, but I didn't show it in the Terrible Albums because I think somebody else got there beforehand. But Raven, the pack is back, obviously a contender. This is their opening jaunt with Atlantic, and doing exactly what they were told and not what they wanted to do. And they return. This is only an EP, but I decided to show this anyway just to give Raven some reprieve. This is the Mad EP, and this is Raven back to their best. Second album from Rogue Male, Animal Man. Worth checking out this band if you haven't. I think not necessarily well known, definitely underrated. Not as good as their first album, but that one is still great to have. And last from this second batch is Saxon Rock the Nations, not their best album in the 80s by any stretch of the imagination, but also not their worst for me either. I think there was worse than this in the 80s, but still not a very strong Saxon album. Third and final batch. Thank you for sticking with it so far. Slayer, Rain in Blood, classic 86, what can you say? Def Jam recordings, classic album, from Slayer to Striper, to Hell with the Devil. Still, Striper don't do anything for me. That certainly didn't help. I mean, how stupid is that? That's probably the most stupidest thing anyone's ever done in terms of outfits in the history of rock and metal. But there we go. Many would disagree. Sword, metalized, and fantastic heavy metal album. Definitely get this in your collection if you haven't already. Tesla, Mechanical Resonance. Not one I've listened to too much. I remember it being a really, really long album. Need to revisit that one again. It's not one I was familiar with back in the 80s, and one that I've picked up since being the VC. A bit of noodling now. Tony McAlpine, Edge of Insanity. If you noticed, you may have noticed already that I store my records in alphabetical order regardless of the whole first name, surname thing. Most people would put this under M, but I put it under T. Same as David Lee Roth was under D, and all that jazz. A few compilations for you now. Music Predations prevents. It doesn't prevent, it presents. Gotta be Nightmare on Economy Street. I've completely lost my mind now. You can see what's on here. Pretty good, decent comp. Accidents, Heathen, Hellion, Agent Steel, Wild Dogs, Zoetrope, Hellion, Lars Rocket, Q5, Rio, Tiger Tails, Rogue Mail, Striper, Michael Furlong, Creek, and Tiger Tails. That side 4 is definitely the weakest of the lot, but a decent comp nonetheless. Metal Killers Collection Volume 2, another double album. I won't read all those out. You can see pretty clearly what's on this batch. And another Music Foundations comp from 86, Mad Tracks 2, Beyond the Metal Zone. A mixed bunch on here. Legs Diamond, not at their finest. Surgeon, okay. A few old guys chucked in the mix there as well. And Metallica Disposable Heroes chucked in the middle. Yeah. Not the best comp, but I've got all the Music Foundations comp. Now this one is a great comp actually. The singles album, 100 minutes of the best in heavy metal, and maybe a bit more difficult to see. We've got some Tank on there, Virgin Steel, Metallica, Merciful Fate, Loudness, Rogue Mail, Wasted, Q5, Steal the Light. Now that is a great track. Some Exciters from Agent Steel, so that's a really good comp. Venom, Ein Klein Nachtmusik. It's Venom. It's live. It's raw. Vow Wow, Cyclone, originally Bow Wow, but changed the name to Vow Wow when they went for a Western success, should we say. Decent album. I do like Bow Wow, Vow Wow. I find Wasp Inside the Electric Circus is a bit maligned. It's certainly one of my favourite Wasp albums. Again, it's 1986. I saw them effectively on this tour in 1987 at Donington, and always loved it. The intro, The Big Welcome, still sends shivers down my spine when I hear it. So I'll always have a place for Inside the Electric Circus in my collection. UK thrash, again, very punky UK thrash. Warfare with Mayhem, Bucking Mayhem. I think this one has, Kronos. Venom is on bass guitar on this one. And who was it produced by? It was produced by Kronos as well. So Warfare are one of those rare bands where the drummer is the vocalist. Some German metal, Warlock, True as Steel, obviously Warlock, where we all know Doro came from originally, one of the earlier albums. Wasted, Save Your Prayers, this is one I got from Brendan Von Doom as VCLT to complete my 80s Wasted collection. Again, a bit of an underrated band from the 80s, featuring obviously Pete Way, formerly of UFO. I have more Wasted albums than I have UFO albums. One of my favourite Yngwie albums. I do tend to reach for this one if I want to have a listen and remind myself of some Yngwie noodling. Great album. Love the vocalist on there. Is it Mark Bowles, is it? Yeah, Mark Bowles. Fantastic vocalist. Really suits the music well. And last but not least, although this is an EP, some Zodiac, Mind Warp and The Love Reaction. Hoodlum... No, it's not Hoodlum Thunder. It's High Priest of Love. It's a 6-track EP. If you don't have Zodiac Mind Warp in your 86 collection, then you do not have an 86 collection. Thanks for watching. Comment below. See you soon.